And that leads us to our next one, another shooting by another veteran, right? And Trump actually did come out with a statement. Let's see if we can read the statement from Donald Trump surrounding this horrific action here. Here it is. Let's see what Trump had to say. Am I going to get paywalled? No. Cool. But it's probably not going to let me actually read it. Let's see if we can go back. So Trump said that the Michigan shooter seems to be a targeted attack on Christians. Is anybody going to give the full article here? Apparently posted on X. Let's see. All right, so here's what he said. He said, I have been briefed on the horrendous shooting that took place at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. The FBI was immediately on scene and will be leading the federal investigation and providing a full report to state and local officials. The suspect is dead, but there is still a lot to learn. This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians, Trump said, in the United States of America. The Trump administration will keep the public posted, as we always do. In the meantime, pray for the victims and their families. Yeah. The epidemic of violence in this country must end immediately, he added. Yeah. And as we say that, we move on to a second story where a second Marine veteran, the same day, does a drive-by shooting on a boat like we're in Grand Theft Auto. Seems pretty bizarre. Seems pretty crazy. Especially the timing of that, right? Like, what are the odds on the same day? Now, you could go down that rabbit hole and you could say, well, maybe the odds are likely in our favor if we're looking at this from a different lens, not the lens of like random happenings, but the lens of the current events all leading up to a rise in public or civilian discourse and getting people to be heightened in their concerns and trying to cause a stir, if that's what some shadowy people would like to do. Not saying that's the case here, and sometimes terrible things just happen. But it's a little fishy that it was on the same day. You go back to some of the conspiratorial sides of this, which would be, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I'm no longer a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a recognizer of patterns. You would say that there has been a history of our government, and specifically the CIA, with things like MKUltra, having been accused and also releasing documents. You go back to the, what is the book? The book about the CIA basically radicalizing the serial killer. Let's see if I can find the book, the CIA. It's called Chaos, I believe. Yep, Chaos, the Manson Murders and the CIA's MKUltra program. That book is about how MKUltra was essentially a program with many programs, but one of those programs was, like many countries have done, as we've seen, especially during the Soviet era, was to see if we could take people and radicalize them, convince them to do acts that they wouldn't otherwise do, or even brainwash them to do it and completely forget it. Right? You've seen the movie The Manchurian Candidate, things like that, shown in our society and pop culture. Yeah, that comes from somewhere, right? And specifically in The Manchurian Candidate, they were done by soldiers. Interesting, right? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a pattern recognizer. This is the theme of the day today. So, yeah, I'm not going to jump into that one too deep. If you want to read about it, you can. I just thought the coincidence was interesting. He basically rode up to the bar from a boat and randomly shot 8 people, at least according to this. Suspect was known to police. Operation Iraqi Freedom. He looks a little off, but I don't see any motive here. I don't think they were saying there was any motive. It says that In the past several years, Edge had filed a string of civil lawsuits with rambling, sometimes conspiratorial claims. One lawsuit against the Department of Veteran Affairs was filed September 24th, less than a week before the shooting. Maybe we should look at that lawsuit paperwork, and that would be interesting. But I don't have it up now, so maybe time for a different episode. Now, let's look at this. And this is going to be maybe a little bit of a shorter episode, but just wanted to get on here with you guys today and talk through some of these things. So this comes from the Russian state media, so we'll preempt that. However, it's not the only source that's admitting this. This came out. Let's see if we can find the actual, maybe a 274 FBI, January 6th. But it is one of the only ones that is leaving this as a top story. AOL has it on there. Fox News has it on there. So if you don't like RT, then maybe let's look at, let's go to, I don't know, let's go Fox News, which is interesting because as you scroll through some of these articles, you also see articles that say FBI did not send undercover operatives to join January 6th attack from Congress.gov. Huh. That seems like you're a liar. So we won't use RT because some people don't like that. Although I like going to these like totally opposite side news stations like RT and Al Jazeera and all of these like allegedly our enemies type people because they have a completely different perspective that you can kind of sift through and just see what they're saying. Right? It's not to say that what they're saying is true, and it's maybe not Russian propaganda, because I'm sure it is if it's state-controlled media at some points, but it also is going to show you how biased our current media is and talk about things that maybe our media wouldn't be willing to talk about. So I find that to be interesting. When you have somebody who's the enemy, sometimes they're a little bit looser with their tongue in their criticisms, and it's worthwhile to look at. So let's look at this from, we'll go to Fox. But I did see that on RT when I have like 10, 15 different sites I just kind of go to sift through some of the news. But let's look at it from Fox News. Here is the article, and it says, FBI's Patel, right, clarifies the role of hundreds of agents on January 6th, said Wray lied to Congress. Okay, so this is a secondary follow-up. Him saying, no, right? Maybe those 274 agents were there, but not for what you're thinking. They were just hanging out, drinking some beers, celebrating like everybody else. While blasting former director Christopher Wray. So Christopher Wray was the former FBI director who came out and said, yeah, we had 274 plainclothes FBI operatives on January 6th. Not just Ray Epps. Go into the Capitol, right? That guy. Not just him. 273 other Ray Epps were out there, right? 274 total Ray Epps were in the audience during January 6th. But Kash Patel says, not for the reason that you're thinking, right? It says the FBI responded on Saturday to a report. So let's read the RT because that's the one that will actually go through what was initially stated, and then we'll read the Fox News response. It says the FBI had nearly 300 plainclothes agents at the Capitol riot. Donald Trump has pledged to probe into dirty cops and crooked politicians in the wake of the report. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had some 274 plainclothes agents present during the January 6th riot. That's what I've said 7 times. Conservative outlet Blaze News reported on Thursday, citing an unnamed senior congressional source. The new claim contradicts the Bureau's longstanding denial that it had heavy presence during the 2021 unrest. Late last year, the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Inspector General said that the Bureau had no undercover employees in the crowds, but acknowledged that 26 FBI and confidential informants were present. So, U.S. Department of Justice Office of Inspector General said no undercover employees, but 26 informants. That's a lot of informants to be in one place at one time. Like, where were those informants embedded in? If they're just showing up to January 6th, it's not like you were like, oh, you're a January 6th informant. Like, no, these were prior informants, right? Prior informants that they already have relationships with, that they told to show up there, who also don't have any association with law enforcement on paper, so they can do whatever they want. Blaze News noted that the new information it had learned from the congressional source does not necessarily contradict the account, given the undercover employees and plainclothes agents could be treated differently by the Bureau. Trump said, I want to know who each and every one of these so-called agents are and what they were up to on that now historic day. Many great patriots, American patriots, were made to pay a very big price only for the love of their country. I owe this investigation of dirty cops and crooked politicians to them. Christopher Wray, the then director of the FBI, had some major explaining to do. Trump wrote this on his Truth Social platform. The January 6th events prompted a massive FBI investigation. Yes. The probe resulted in more than 1,500 people being charged with federal crimes, including Trump himself. Trump granted clemency to everyone who faced charges stemming from the riot, with most receiving full pardons. Okay, so now we have Kash Patel coming out and saying, one, there's another article that this leads to that says FBI's Kash Patel vows definitive answers on top of January 6 questions is coming. So maybe we don't have those now. He says, while the agents were on hand, they were sent in after the riot had begun to try and control the unruly crowd. Officials told Fox News Digital. Well, that's maybe a proper explanation. That is not the proper role of FBI agents. And Wray was not forthcoming about what happened when he testified numerous times on Capitol Hill. Agents were sent into the crowd control mission after the riot was declared by Metro Police. Something that goes against FBI standards. Interesting. Patel wrote Fox News, this was a failure of corrupt leadership that lied to Congress and to the American people about what really happened. Thanks to agents coming forward, we are now uncovering the truth. We are fully committed to transparency and justice and accountability. Okay. Interesting. It was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed, against all rules, regulations, protocols, and standards, 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior and during the January 6th hoax. This timeline's crazy, guys. This timeline's crazy. That's it. Or just when you look at governments and like the major events, historical events, I just wonder what the real truth is to any of them. Right? Go read your history books, what you read in high school. I'm just curious what the real story was to any of this. This one seems quite clear and evident to everybody who kind of followed and went along with it, especially when you remember how the congressmen were actually acting in the building. AOC, what was she doing? Like hiding under a desk, crying on her Facebook Live. Right? Nancy Pelosi telling was it Nancy Pelosi that told them to stand down? Right? The actual like security detail to stand down and to like basically let them in. The cops ushering people into the building. All pretty weird. And the tragic thing is we'll never really know. Right? Me and my wife were talking about this. It's like, what if you get to heaven and in the waiting room, there was a TV in the corner, you're in the waiting room, and it just tells you the reality of all the crazy stuff that happened during your timeline. Like, oh, by the way, this event was actually this, right? Like it would be an interesting way to kill some time while you're waiting for your turn for judgment. All right, so I won't go through all of that, but I do find that to be interesting. Let's look at the next article, which says there will be full disclosure on this, and then we'll move on to the next topic. DOJ Inspector General does not deny FBI informants were among the crowd, but they were only there to, help out, even though they weren't supposed to be there. 274 agents is a lot. A lot. I don't know if there's anything here. Basically just saying that he's going to respond. The next couple of months. Horowitz, though, said he hoped the report would be made public in the next couple of months, but likely after Election Day. When is that from? All right. Anyways, moving on. Number one comment here. This is from a 2024 comments. So when was this article? This article was from, okay, so that's taking us back. That was from yesterday. The FBI Patel clarifies role. And so was the RT was from, let's see. Yep, also yesterday or 2 days ago for both of those. So much more new than that one I was just about to scan for you. So luckily I didn't read it.